Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I've got a guest for you today. I'll be bringing on in just a moment. If you're new around here, this is a good chance to remind you that we have hundreds of episodes of this podcast. We're coming up on 1,000 episodes, and the vast majority of them are interviews that either I conducted or someone on our team conducted with one of the most successful students in our community. Many success stories around here. We're very proud of that. And we love learning from and listening to those stories. They tell us their struggles, the pain points, the victories. We hear it all. And today, man, Ryan speaks from the heart. You're going to really enjoy hanging out with this guy. He even shares a very special segment towards the end of this show today where he's really speaking from the heart. It's pretty emotional for him. And I think that's going to benefit you and really encourage you and challenge you as well. And he asked me a heartfelt question, and I answered from the heart today too. And I think hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. But it's a lot of really good specific strategy too. He's doing some stuff on Amazon that I'm pretty sure you aren't doing. Not a lot of other people are doing it. I'm certainly not doing anywhere near as much of it as I intend to now that I've heard him talk about it. That strategy is Amazon to Amazon flips, where you buy stuff on Amazon and you turn right back around and profitably sell it on Amazon. He's really dialing that in right now using Keepa, and he explains how he does it. If you don't know what Keepa is, I just dropped a new word on you there. Sorry. Go back and listen to podcast episode 369. It talks about a tool called Keepa. You can also get a 360-degree walkthrough of Keepa by checking out our course found at silentjim.com/360. silentjimjim.com/360. That's our Keepa 360 course that walks into all the different ways you can use Keepa. That's basically a tool that scrapes Amazon's database all day, every day, the billion-plus ASINs in the United States. It keeps historical data so you can know about what to expect when you invest in any of those products based on past historical performance. There's a lot of great data that comes from Keepa, and our guest today, Ryan, is using it in a very creative way that I'm pretty sure about 98% of the audience who listens to today's show are going to walk away with 2, 3, maybe even 5 things they didn't know before. They're going to really help their business. This is one of those just truly packed full episodes. A couple things I want to get into before we jump over and talk to Ryan real quick. Just a couple of announcements. I got a freebie for you, especially if you're new around here. You're going to love this. I've got a book that's sold over 1 million copies, and I want to digitally send you completely free a full copy of it. You can do it by text or email, and we'd love to get you a copy of the Silent Sales Machine book. That's the book behind this podcast. It's over 2 decades of wisdom compiled from the incredible team that I get to work with every day. There's over 100 of us around here who support our Facebook group, our courses, coaching, our event. Great leaders with great stories. The things that I've learned from them over the past 20 years compiled into a handful of brief lessons that will keep you from making huge mistakes and will also help you identify what the best path forward is for you in building a beautiful business that you can put in your pocket and take with you, an e-commerce business, building multiple streams of income online. What's out there? That's what this book is about. You'll want to go to silentjim.com/free11. That's the word free and the number 11, 11. As in version 11 of the book. And I'm going to give it to you completely free, no questions asked, full copy. This thing has thousands of 5-star reviews on Amazon, past versions. Version 11, we've made it free. Love to give that to you. And the other thing, you're going to hear Ryan talking about our conference coming up in May of 2025. You'll want to be there. It's in Orlando, Florida, the last 3 days of May 2025, the 29th, 30th, and 31st. We've got a room rate about $100, just over $100 a night for incredible rooms at a beautiful resort right next to SeaWorld. Huge discount on everything. You got to come be a part of it. There's going to be hundreds of listeners to this show there. It's the longest running Amazon seller conference in the world. We'd love to have you come be a part of it. So I think that's it. Let's jump over. I had a great time talking to Ryan. I'm recording this intro after the fact, obviously. You're about to hear a great interview with one of the latest coaches. That's right. Ryan's now a coach on our team that we've added into our community. So if you're interested in coaching, go over to silentjim.com, click on coaching, or go directly to our schedule link to schedule a conversation with us. That's silentjim.com/book a call, all one word, silentjim.com/book a call. Get on our schedule. Let's see which of our free or low cost or maybe coaching resources are best for you. And maybe you want to request Ryan as your coach. He's killing it. You're about to hear all about it. Let's go. So Ryan, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you again, man.
You as well. Thanks, Jim. Good to see you.
Well, I'm looking forward to today. We've had you on the show before, so why don't we update folks just a little bit what you've been up to, how's business, and we got some other good stuff to get into today too.
Sure. Before we hopped on, I went and found the last time we talked. So I was on the podcast back in June of last year, and still somewhat of a clueless newbie, but was getting some traction. So since then, a lot has happened. It's just been like a whirlwind of life and business and all kind of craziness. But the Amazon business has still been growing. That year, went to conference after the podcast. That was awesome. And then, left there super motivated, ready to keep growing. And then right before Christmas season, I got a Section 3. So like that really broke the momentum, moving into Q4. I couldn't send in shipments. I couldn't get payouts. Like they would let me FBM, but I couldn't get payouts. So that actually took 30 days to resolve. But we got it resolved and still had a little bit of time to buy and sell FBM and capture some of that, Santa rally. So the year didn't finish as strong as we were hoping, but first year on Amazon, we did right around 385,000 in revenue.
So then 2023, and did you work the business that full year as your full-time gig or?
No. So yeah, I was operating a pool business at the time, pool service business. So
right, you're down in the Tampa area. That's right. I remember that's your side. That was your side. Are you still doing any of that?
No. And so that'd be part of my update for sure. We sold that business, but yeah. So January of last year was basically zero revenue. We did a little bit in December before that, unrelated to Replen stuff. It was some other stuff on Amazon, but basically started at zero in January, ended around 385. And then this year just kept growing. After that Section 3, I was kind of like weary with all the risk associated with more ASINs, trying to test more brands, more risk of IP complaints, and so many misbranded listings and things like that. So I was like, well, I'm going to kind of find out about branded bundles. So I leaned into that direction, started branded bundles, filed for a trademark, and did pretty well there. And I had one bundle that was just took off and selling 1,500 units a month of it, and just hard to keep up on it. And was kind of scaling down the OA and building up the bundles. And at one point that became like 80% of my business. And then a lot of this bundle drama started and accounts were being deactivated and, inventory held up. So I was like, whoa, what's going on? And my listings weren't exactly compliant. They weren't like blatant, violation, but it's like, it's probably not within all the policy guidelines.
You were in that fairly wide gray area that Amazon had left out there, right?
Correct.
As were a lot of other people. Yeah, It's like, I could argue either way on this based on the unclear policy that Amazon has, right?
And I could definitely see that I had risk there. So like I did the opposite. I was like, well, we're going to scale down bundles and we're going to get OA back up. So that's a hard pivot. We scaled OA up very quickly, and then still selling through some of the bundles. We don't have that many left, but selling through those and planning to relaunch bundles next year, and making sure everything's compliant and still lean into that opportunity. But for now, it's just I'm focusing on Q4 OA and Amazon to Amazon flips. And probably the last 3 months, I've been heavy A to A. That's been like my primary focus. Probably 80% of my inventory now has been purchased via A to A.
And we don't talk about that a whole lot around here, A to A. And we've done some of it in my business. We don't have any official guidelines or training in the community yet. It's probably coming, because it is a big opportunity. So hit me with the bullet points. If like you were trying to talk me into doing A to A, like I'm your business partner now, and you're like, hey Jim, check this out. Here's what I think ATA is all about. Like hit me with the bullet points. We'll dive into it a little bit. I know you've got some other stuff too to get into.
This won't turn you off, because I know you're not scared to sell against Amazon.
Of course not.
I did that as well. In OA, I would
Mhm.
buy inventory and sell against
All
Amazon
the
all day.
time at a higher price
But
than they were charging too.
I think that's the biggest hang up somebody's going to have is like, well, how can you sell against Amazon? Well, that's the name of the game. That is A to A flips. They're on every listing pretty much, unless you're finding ones where they're going out of stock on, which is a
Mhm.
really nice opportunity. But
And those are easy to find too now.
right.
Easier, a lot easier than they used to be. But anyway, so you're when you say they're on every list, ASIN, you're saying when you're doing A to A, Amazon to Amazon flips, meaning you're buying the inventory on Amazon, turning it right back around and selling it on Amazon. You're buying from Amazon as the seller, correct me if I'm wrong, every single time,
Yes.
correct?
I would say 99% of the time, yes.
Okay, just to play it super
Yeah,
safe.
yeah. I mean, there is, everybody's going to have their different risk tolerance and stuff, but there is some things where you could easily show this is a legitimate source. It's not an issue.
Okay.
Zappos is an example. You could buy from Zappos on Amazon. They're owned by Amazon. They can confirm the orders and everything. There's
Zappos
some
is the
other
seller.
major retailers,
Correct.
some direct brands you can buy from on Amazon. But yeah, I would say like focused on buying from Amazon because if you did find an opportunity with Zappos, most of the time they're going to have that on their website anyways, and you
Hmm.
can go there and take advantage of some other cash back and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, primarily purchasing directly from Amazon, getting it here, prepping it, and shipping it right back to Amazon and selling it on Amazon. And it's the most hilarious thing to even think that's possible. But
Hmm.
it works for several reasons. And probably one of the big ones is Amazon's bots are price matching internet prices. So if Walmart has something on sale, it will find that and price match that because they don't care if they lose money on that sale. They want the traffic
Exactly.
because that person's not going to go to Walmart. They're going to come to Amazon and they're going to shop more on Amazon. It hurts their competitor and hopefully they're going to buy other stuff in their cart
Mhm.
that's profitable. So they're just trying to consume traffic.
Loss leaders in it from
Exactly.
traditional retail, right? Put the milk on sale for, 75% off in the back of the store. People got to walk past the cookies and the popcorn and everything else to get back there. Yeah.
Right. And people are typing this in on Google, on their phone, whatever, phone search bar, and they want to pop up before Walmart.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
that's one of the primary reasons that this opportunity exists is price matching. So that presents a couple opportunities. There's A to A and there's A to A adjacent, meaning like, okay, yeah, they're price matching Walmart, but Walmart still might be cheaper. Or maybe I can only buy 3 from Amazon, but I can go buy 10 from Walmart. So even if I'm buying off of Amazon, maybe I found it from an A to A opportunity. Maybe Amazon went out of stock, but it's still on sale at this other place that I wouldn't have found if I wasn't looking for an A to A flip. So it's pretty neat. Some other things you'll notice is a lot of times, I don't know why they do this, but a lot of times when Amazon is at the end of their stock on an item, they'll just drop the price to like very, very cheap.
Yeah. To
They
get rid of
have
the
one,
last
one, two,
bit of
three
it.
units left, and for whatever reason, they're just like, all right, like it's 60% off right now.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
there's those opportunities as well. Back to the price matching thing. I got onto something really good a couple months ago where I'm using Keepa Deals. So a lot of people are familiar with like Keepa Product Finder and all the data pages. Well, there's a section for Keepa Deals, and I kept seeing the same brand popping up periodically. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I Google that one, and lo and behold, Walmart has everything on clearance sale for this brand, and the prices are cheaper than Amazon. So I was able to load up on just dozens and dozens of different ASINs on this one brand, and they're selling now. They're like massive ROIs. It's just hilarious that this
So talk me through a specific example. Don't give away any of your ASINs, obviously, but like, okay, let's take this box of whatever, right? Like, talk me through a very specific. I saw you found it on Keepa Deals, which is a different tab, and before you go into that, Ryan, it reminds me. I think many people may not realize Keepa started out as a shopper's tool
Yep.
for people
Yep.
who wanted to find good bargains and discounts. That's what they've always been.
Yeah. So
That was their
that's
foundation.
really what you're leveraging is that information.
Yeah, so you're
Like
just diving back into the original
yeah,
purpose of the tool,
exactly.
right?
They're highlighting
Find some
that
of
for
these
their
flips.
customers, right? Hey, these are good deals. These are 60, 70% off, whatever it is.
Right.
So
Right.
that's really what you're leveraging there.
Right. And just to speak from big picture, you're just right. You're waiting for that curve to rise again, right? It's all dirt cheap right now. It's all getting bought up. Okay. It's all
right.
gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And the price starts to climb. That's
Correct.
A to A in a nutshell, correct?
And it could, like, there's some variation. So I would say if you're experienced, it's going to be much easier for you. If you're not experienced, it's actually a really good thing to learn on because it allows you to look at thousands of Keepa charts very quickly and just familiarize yourself with like how to read a Keepa chart and what's going on in that. So there's some where you'll see like this price is always in this range. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, it's high, it's low, it's high. So that instance, yeah, you're buying and you're holding it for that price to go back up, and then you'd sell. Sometimes it's like you can look at the lifetime chart and it's been this same price for 5 years, but today they're price matching somewhere, and tomorrow that price is right back. So there's some different circumstances. Yeah, buy low and sell high is the fundamental.
That's the A to A. Then learning how to find those sales and discounts where Amazon has lost their minds, basically, which at any given time is probably a few million ASINs sitting out there. Like, why is Amazon selling this so cheap? The price has been at $60 95% of the time, and right now they're selling this thing for 18.
Yeah, which is really funny when you can see now that they've added the bought in the last 30 line, where you can see like, yeah, they've been selling 100 units a month at $80. Why is it $37? Right? Like, why?
Yep. Yeah. Because they're trying to price match a sale at, Kroger or Target or Walmart or whatever. They're trying to price match, which their bots do aggressively. So yeah, it's kind of using Amazon's own limitations against itself. Against it, one of the things that comes to mind for me, Ryan, is sometimes people say, "Oh, Amazon's they're forcing me. I've been selling this thing for $50, and now they're forcing me to drop it to 35." Okay, well, maybe it's the time to buy instead of sell that, right? And because it will come back. It runs in cycles.
Right. And I mean, what we do generally as OA sellers is we buy other website sales and sell them on Amazon. So the other opportunity, which I have not really gone down yet and looking forward to do more next year, is Amazon is a retail website. We buy it on sale there and we sell it on Walmart. Yeah, it doesn't have to be A to A. It can be A to W. It can be A to
Amazon
Facebook.
to Walmart is huge. I mean, someone needs to invent the tools, man, just to kind of swap and look and all times monitor that tool's coming. And it's not like I spoke it into existence just now. I'm sure it's coming, and vice versa.
Yeah.
There's a little tip: people who buy on Walmart.com with the intentions of selling on Amazon, please listen to what I'm about to say. Make sure Walmart is the seller, because if it's a third-party seller, Amazon will reject that receipt and they will not see it as legitimate inventory. But if you go on Walmart.com and Walmart is the seller, not a third party, but Walmart, you can flip that on Amazon confidently. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And there's going to be, a lot of things that are Walmart exclusives. Amazon would love to have those on their platforms, and vice versa. There are Amazon exclusives and Walmart would love to have those on there.
They have no problem with it. That's right. That's right. All kinds of great ASINs with that stuff. Beautiful, man. That's a great introduction. And yeah, keep us in the loop. I know you're putting up some nice numbers and you've really focused. And, something we kind of blew past in your story that I want to emphasize for the listeners is pivoting. You're a guy who had a pool business, started integrating Amazon in a little bit. They're two kind of conflicted. You had a period of what I call intense focused effort. Like I'm going to have to work a little harder. What was a 6-8 month period than probably I'd be comfortable working. It's not sustainable, but you had that intense focused effort. You made it happen, sold your other business. Hope you did good. Was it a good payday for you?
Yes, it was.
Nice. Okay. Because you did your hard work, you put in your time, you sold that off, someone bought it, nice paycheck. And then you got into Amazon and you have had to pivot a couple times. Went from OA to bundles, things started changing. You pivoted, you started getting out of bundles a little bit, more into A to A. You're always looking. That is a business building warrior story. That's what it takes. There's people with less warrior spirit would have just clung to the pool business and dabbled on the side, and the first sign of change at Amazon, they'd had tossed it in the trash and stuck with what they know. And you know, there's nothing, I mean, that's an admirable path to build a beautiful business, but you wanted the flexibility of an internet business. You didn't want to have
Right.
to go to people's houses and stand in the sun and work when it's 98 degrees outside and do 8 pools in a day. And like, no, I want to make more money doing less of that. So you did what
Yeah.
it took, man.
Yeah, it was hard to stop clinging to the job to start the pool business. And
Mhm.
then, like you said, I had to go through that again. It was hard to let go of the pool business.
There was a pivot
And through
before
that,
it pivot even
the
further back. Yeah. What was your last real job with quote when paycheck job?
6 years ago, seven, I don't know,
What did you do?
probably
What were
six
you
years
doing?
ago. Construction management, engineering type stuff. It
Mhm.
was, I have a civil engineering degree. So going to clean pools was like, well, what are you doing? You know, you're going to
Oh,
leave your nice job with benefits and go
you're
do
not
what?
using your college
But
degree.
yeah, I
Yeah.
made more money in less time
Yeah.
cleaning pools. Like, how's that possible?
Right.
But so it turned
Right.
out to be an awesome decision. And then again, like what you just said, clinging to that, because then the pool business became comfortable and stable and secure.
Mhm. Yes.
And to be able to let go of that to chase something better was
Yes.
hard. But since then, we got to take a trip to Mexico all on points. And we've taken a couple other vacations and we've gone to, have fun days on a Tuesday. And that stuff I couldn't do
Yeah.
before. So,
Exactly. It's been my reality for 22 years, and I forget sometimes, but I did the corporate office gig, get up earlier than I want, stay longer than I want, come home later than I want, tired. And I was making decent money. And it took me a while to get back to that point. I was working for Microsoft. But within 3 or 4 years, I was looking back saying, man, I should have left way before I did because I was making more money, sleeping in, spending time with my family. Nice day outside. We're going to the zoo. I got my business in my pocket. I'll need half an hour at the zoo, guys, to check in on things, right? Okay, Dad, that my kids grew up with that reality. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. The flexibility, and you add in, I'm making more money, not less. Once you've got your momentum, yeah,
right.
it's just beautiful, man. It's a blessed way to do life for sure.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point out the warrior spirit that was required in you. A lot of people would just hunker down into the safe zone. You've got to take some risks. You got to stretch yourself. You got to give up some Netflix. You got to spend some evenings doing stuff you don't want to do, learning some new skills. But it's worth it. And you're just another example of that, man. All right. So where are we going next?
So I've my rolling 30, I'm at 110,000 a month now, heading into
Nice.
Q4. So really looking forward to see what we can do over the
What's
next
your
couple of
debt?
months. I'm anywhere from like 8 to 12%. And I just brought on a bookkeeper. So I don't know where I'm at for last month's numbers yet. They're
Gotcha.
still closing out that. But before that, I was, 8 to 12% up and down. And
Yeah.
then and net, it's hard to say because a lot of that goes right back into the business as far as like
Yep.
equipment, you know, training. I went to the bundles workshop. So like
Oh, good.
I'm investing a lot back into myself and into the business.
Yes.
So,
Right. Right.
but yeah, 8 to 12% has been where I'm at. A to A has started to improve that significantly. There's
Yes.
some
The net margins can be really attractive with that.
yes.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a lot of people interested in talking, experimenting
Mm.
with that and getting in Amazon deals, or excuse me, Keepa Deals, Deal Finder.
So now just continuing to focus on the business, but also personal growth. I started working with Carl Jacoby on some of that stuff. He's helping me to get some perspective. You were talking about the intense focused effort. It was more than 6 months. It was probably over a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing both businesses side to
Yep.
side. And,
Yep.
I'm at a point where like since that other business is gone, it's been hard for me to get out of that mode. And so like I'm trying to live a little bit more in the present. So I'm still like just so stuck in the future that I'm kind of missing some of the present and trying to focus on some of that. Like let's slow down now. Let's like take a breath, enjoy
Yeah.
where we're at.
Yeah.
So
That inhale, exhale of a life well lived, right? If that makes sense, it's there's a reason. I don't know why this comes to mind, but I think it's a good point. And I want to get into some of the mindset stuff that you're doing too, because I know you've learned a lot there. I'd love to hear more about it. But you look at the 10 Commandments, and they all kind of make sense. Don't kill each other. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know, don't sleep with each other's wives. Yeah, I can see the benefit of having some, having those lines and saying. But then you get to this strange one that says, don't work on Sundays. Like, what? Right? Like, what's that about?
Mhm.
But there's a necessary pattern to life where you got to rest, you got to turn it off, you got to sit back. And even in the Hebrew culture, there's festivals. They had to go have fun. It was the rule was no business, no work, no staying up late doing the numbers. Today is celebration day because we remember on this day when God did X, 400 years ago or whatever, right? And just that forcing yourself out of the work mode into, because I know people that go full speed 7 days a week, that's all it lives, sleep, eat, breathe. What you're really doing is setting yourself up for 2 years of exhaustion where you're worthless.
Right.
Some people call it burnout and they're surprised when it hits them, you know. So yeah, that breathe in, breathe out, that cycle, you've got to find it. So I'd love to hear more about, you know, that's period of intense focused effort and then transitioning into healthy patterns and anything else you want to talk about mindset. I'm going to stop
Sure.
talking because I know you've done a lot of work on that lately.
Sure. Like, I mean, I'm still working on that last bit, and it's front of mind now. And my wife told me a while back. I asked her like, have I improved as a husband, father, and whatever? She thought like you were worse at one point because like you were so stressed out and busy, and we felt like we were in your way. And I was like, oh my goodness, like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why I'm doing this. I'm not,
Right.
and I felt that too. Like, yeah, sometimes they were in my way.
Hey, pardon the interruption for just a moment, but I've got to tell you about one of the favorite sponsors that we've had around here for quite a while, simply because so many people are using their services now. They're very popular in our community. Seller Board loves us and we love them. What do? They help you know if your products are profitable. On an ASIN by ASIN level, you can dive into the details of which of your products are performing well and which ones need to be cut out, along with a host of other new, really cool features that they're constantly adding and innovating. It's a very inexpensive tool that's very easy to set up. And we strongly encourage you to go take a look at the special offer they have just for listeners to this podcast at silentjim.com/numbers. Jump over there, check out what they've got for us. For just a few dollars, you can get rolling and know your numbers later today. Hey, let's get back to today's episode.
Like, that's why I'm doing this. I'm not,
Right.
and I felt that too. Like, yeah, sometimes they were in my way.
Thank you for the transparency on that,
Yeah,
man.
that's terrible. Like,
I think that's going to really impact a lot of guys. I just want to say thank you for being willing to be that transparent. That's something I appreciate about you. And we've had a good handful of conversations at this point. You just say how it is. You're not here trying to impress anyone. Like, this is exactly what's happening. And thank you for that. Yeah, because I think, especially as guys, I'm sure there's females that struggle with it as well, but I'm very familiar as a guy with being so driven to succeed, to provide for my family that I forget the whole reason I'm doing it.
right.
And they kind of, like you said, they kind of feel like they're in the way a little bit. Like, no, that they are why I'm doing it. They are my why. And if you lose
Exactly.
your why, you're just spinning, right?
Yep.
Good
Yep.
stuff, man.
Yeah. So, maybe before we hop on some mindset stuff, I wrote down a couple notes. I wanted to give some advice maybe to like the beginners
Yeah,
and
let's
a
go.
little bit of advice for some intermediate people. So, beginner advice goes into what you were talking about, pivoting. So there's been a lot of brands gating, regating. It's been really hard to ungate. There's been listings shutting down left and right. And it's always like the sky is falling now. I can't sell Lego. I can't sell Nike. I can't sell Adidas. I've been regated in brands I've been selling for a year. Well, I pulled up these numbers before we hopped on. And in the last 2 years, I've sold 3,200 unique ASINs and 296 suppliers. I don't know how many brands. I couldn't figure out how to easily find that. But somebody asked me, like, if you post numbers on Facebook, they ask you, well, what category are you selling in? I'm selling in every single category, like every
All of
single
them.
one.
Yeah.
Like, I can't sell in apps and Audible books and digital. I can't sell in those, but everything else, I've sold in every category. So for beginners, like, broaden your view. Like, there's opportunity. Don't get stuck in to selling what everybody else is selling. Find your own area, but broaden your view. Be ready to pivot. Advice to relationships. I think last time we were on here, I asked you, well, how do I leverage my coach? Like, how do I, best take advantage of to learn the most information from them and blah, blah, blah. And you were like, well, it's not going to be like what they showed you on some Keepa chart. It's going to be the relationship you can build with them. And that has been very true. So
Good to hear
I've
it.
got a great relationship with my coach. He's a good friend and mentor. And it wasn't the Keepa stuff he taught me. It was seeing like what kind of person he is, and spending time with him and around him, and wanting to be as good of a person as he is. You know?
Yeah, I've seen this. I love that you said that, Ryan. And I had no idea where you were going to go with that. You very easily could have just said, "No, I just pretty much used his Keepa knowledge. I never really got to know him." And there's people like that out there. But the people who really do the best in business, I recorded a podcast episode earlier today. People may be able to see it because I was wearing the same jacket and t-shirt. But talking about relationships and how vital they, and it's a theme around here all the time. But the theme of that episode was the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if you're not the kind of person that's used to building meaningful relationships and having conversations and seeking out a mentor, right, and trying to mentor someone else, guess what? Get over it. You're going to need to do that. Not just to have a successful business, but to have a successful life. These are basic, fundamental, must-have skills. And people say, "Oh, but Jim, I'm an introvert. I don't need that." No, introverts need it just as bad as anyone else. It just takes us digging a little deeper at times for some of the scenarios. But introverts make better leaders, I would argue, make better business people, I would argue, in many scenarios. But we all have to learn that skill of getting out of our comfort zone, asking an open-ended question, going a little past the keep a chart into like, tell me like, how do you maintain a healthy mindset in your business? Questions like that. People of achievement love answering those kinds of questions and getting in the
Right.
weeds. I love that you brought that up, and I had to riff just a little bit on it because
Yeah.
I beat that up all the time, but it's vital, man. Relationships are necessary.
Something I've been telling myself over the last year is like to try and get myself into smaller rooms with better people.
Ooh,
And
that's
like
good.
it's really it takes time to
Mm-hmm.
network and foster those relationships. But like for instance, the coaching opportunity is like a shortcut to that. And not just the
Yep.
coaching, there is opportunities to use your money to shorten that time and to get access to smaller rooms and better people.
Mm-hmm.
The bundles workshop was amazing. So many people got scared of bundles, and there was not very many of us there, and it was incredible. Had
Yeah.
so much one-on-one time with Matt and Nathan and Leanna and some other well-known sellers in the community. Recently came on as a coach with the coaching team, and I got to sit in on a coaches meeting, and oh my goodness, like that's amazing. Like I can't believe I'm in a room with these people. This is incredible. But even going
Yeah.
from the Facebook group is what 70,000 people or something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Going from
78. We
that
just got
to the
78.
conference, for a few $100s, you've got into a room with 1,000 people.
Yeah.
You're in a smaller room, and they're more serious people.
And
So
breakout sessions. Yeah. We're
yeah,
even small,
masterminds that develop.
yeah, 10 o'clock at night, sitting in the hallway with 6 or 7 people sitting around. And yeah, I mean, since you opened up this topic, man, I'm going to say I say these kind of things frequently, but I've gotten pretty good at predicting where someone's going to be in their business and in their life. And I didn't come up with this rule of thumb. It's something I've borrowed, and it certainly is true. I don't need to ask you about your business plan. I don't need to ask you what the numbers look like. All I need to ask you is, who are you hanging out with? Who's influencing you? Who are you spending time with? And what content are you consuming? You answer those two questions for me, I'll tell you where your business is going to be 2 years from now. I don't need to know the numbers. Because if you're doing relationships the right way and you're consuming the right content, you're heading in a great direction. You're willing to learn and pivot, and you're surrounding yourself with the right people. That whole thing, your net worth is your network, right?
Mhm.
It's like, are you focusing on that? Are you paying attention to that? And it happens almost by osmosis. You can't turn it off. I would say you can't hang around the right people and not be positively impacted by it.
That's right.
And that's how powerful it is, right? It just
And
changes your
and that's a
mindset
and
and
that's a
mentality.
choice
And
you have.
it
That is a choice.
exactly.
It
It's
is
a
not a
decision.
condition. Like
Mhm.
you can get up and go find some new people.
Yep. The number of times, Ryan, that if people have called me, I've talked to them, I mean, my own kids included, they're in their business and they're struggling. I've given myself this advice. You're just sitting there. You'll have those days you're like, I don't even know what to do today. I'm not motivated to do anything. I feel a little overwhelmed. Doing nothing seems like about the only option on my plate. No, that's when you pick up this magic little device and use it for the right way. You reach out to somebody that you need to catch up with. Hey, how's business? I would love to connect today. It's been a while since we talked. Remember that great conversation we had 6 months ago? I'd like to pick up where we left off and see how business is doing and pick your brain on a couple things. Right. Those are the days you do that. And because what that does is it just ignites relationships, ignite that creative part of your brain, unlike anything else. The isolation destroys us. Relationships and getting out there and having conversation, that ignites those things. And it never ceases to amaze me that when someone's struggling, they're more isolated than they should be. And when someone's thriving and they look around like, man, things are going well, it's because they started being intentional about these things.
Right.
We're hardwired for this. Good stuff, man. Sorry, I keep ranting, but
that's okay.
when I see the obvious answers out there, I gotta shine a light on them.
Just a couple more points. So for intermediate sellers, if you're new, just tune out for a minute. And Jim, you might not even agree with me here, but this is just my opinion. So you're preaching the inch deep, mile wide. And for the intermediate seller who's been, selling 20, 30, $40,000, whatever it is, and you're kind of stuck there, I'd say mile wide, 2 inches deep. So
I like that.
So you should kind of have a sense of what your hit rate is, right? Like,
yes.
No matter what, you're going to buy bad products. You're going to make bad buys. Some stuff is in your control. Some of it's out. Maybe you missed a detail on a listing. Maybe a listing got shut down. Maybe something regated, whatever it is, maybe an IP complaint. You're going to have bad buys. You're not going to hit 100%. But with experience and time, you should have a pretty high hit rate, right? Like, so just made up numbers. Let's say you're selling 25,000 in revenue and maybe 5% of your buys are bad buys, and you're testing 3 to 5 units on each ASIN. If you double your tests, if you tested 5 to 10 units, you've doubled your revenue, 50,000, but your hit rate should be the same. You should still have like 5% of your buys are bad buys. 95% of them are good, profitable purchases. So that could be something useful for, I know a lot of people kind of hit that plateau. And if you've got the experience and the knowledge and you're confident and your hit rate, increase your test purchases. Of course, you have to look at the data and see, well, does this ASIN, support that much of a purchase and all that? But test deeper.
I have no problem with that advice. And for those who've never heard of the inch deep, mile wide thing, the reason we say that is to mitigate your risk for new sellers primarily. Because we see a lot of people do the opposite, where they'll get attached on one product and they'll go super deep and then they get burned. So the opposite of getting one product and going super deep is have a bunch of products and don't go very deep on any of them. So if you get hit, it's a minimal hit and you've still got it's diversifying your risk portfolio, basically. If it was stocks, we're saying go buy 1,000 different stocks at a minimum investment versus one stock going all in.
Correct.
Right? Diversify. It's long been known in investment worlds, like that's the way to play it safe, long term. But I love what you're saying is, hey, how about you go a little deeper once you get your confidence and your skill set up? Instead of buying 1 or 2 or 3 test units, buy 4 or 5 or 6 test units. You've doubled your business. And your instincts have gotten better. So you'll be making money faster. Yeah, I love that. You'll probably trim off the edges of that mile wide too. Like, let's get rid of some of the iffy stuff on the edges. So now we're 3/4 mile wide, 2 inches deep, maybe, right? Because you
found some of those brands that, the Keepa looks good, I can sell it, but no, they, you get hit with something. You kind of learn some of those, and which ones you haven't had issues with, and
owning your instincts.
Your confidence level can increase.
I have no problem with that advice, man. Yeah. I love the way we're talking about it. I love the visuals too. I love whenever there's a visual to help people kind of grasp the concept. Yeah, that's a great one, dude. I love it.
So the last thing I'd want to talk about is just, it really is mindset and perspective stuff. And that's for everybody. It's not beginner. It's not experience. Like, Jim, you need mindset work. I need mindset work. Everybody. So this is like, for me, talking to myself to remind myself this as well. But it's easy to see people who've achieved some level of success beyond this. Doesn't matter what it's in, but we're talking about business here. So like, somebody has done, their $1 million in 2 years, and you'd be like, Ryan, that's incredible. Like, how's that possible? I could never do that. I could never be that person. And that's an easy trap to fall in. And anybody that's thinking that right now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, I could never do $1 million in 2 years, like, you're absolutely right. You can't do it. You, the person you are, cannot do it. But the thing they're missing is you can become the person that is capable of doing that. So
Absolutely.
there's things that I'm looking towards, and I'm still saying, like, man, I can't do that. But I know, like, I can become that person that can do that. So I'm trying to work on those things. And, we don't all start from the same place. We all start with $0 orange bars. We all start there, but we all started somewhere different in life. And so if you want to have my experience to do what I did, well, you would need to come where I came from over the last 40 years. You would need to experience family trauma in high school. You would have to deal with chronic depression and self-confidence issues. You would have to deal with layoffs. You would have to deal with losing a house and going through a divorce. You would have to fall away from the church and come back to the church.
That's so good, man. You're speaking from the heart, dude.
Um,
I love it.
you would have to marry a woman from a communist country that can tell you, like, dude, this is what opportunity is.
Yeah, you think you got it hard. Let me tell you about, yeah, right?
You would have to go to rehab and come out with nothing.
God bless you, man. That's amazing. I didn't know that part of your story.
You would have to fail at businesses. You would have to start a business that was successful. You would have to sell a business that was successful. And you would have to have children. And you would have to build resilience. So go do that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can compare yourself to me. But
Yeah,
you are running your race.
that's right.
You only have your experience. So take inspiration from people that you look up to, but know where you are and know where you've come and know what kind of person you need to become to do the things you want to do.
Man,
So
that's phenomenal. Just to borrow, and again, I love your transparency, man. You just speak from the heart. I often make this observation. I've never made it flippantly. We're coming up on 1,000 episodes of this podcast. I've maybe said what I'm about to say 40 times, 30, 40 times. I see so much leadership potential in some people. Like, you've got it in spades, man. If you were stock, I'd be buying it. Not just based on your business insights and instincts and experience and success, but your ability to communicate effectively and transparently in a way that moves the needle. Because I've heard a lot of pitches, I've heard a lot of people speak from the heart, I've heard on a lot of different topics, and you can tell. We've got it. I think females have a stronger monitor in their hearts than guys do sometimes. But even us as guys have it. Like, okay, this guy's legit. He's saying what he means. He means what he says. He can back it up. He's got the proof. He's got the receipts, right? Like, I'm going to listen to this dude. You've got that. You just naturally have it. I don't think you know any other way. And typically it's the leaders with a limp that have it. And I knew you led with a limp. I didn't know what all went into it until today. I know a lot more. And in everything you just listed, there's a 3-hour story behind it, if not more, right? I have infinite respect for anybody who goes through a recovery journey. That's the ministry my parents were in for decades, right? So I'm familiar with both the caretaker role and the role of being the recovering addict and what goes into getting back to stability. And the final step in that journey, for those who don't know, I know you know this, Ryan, is you begin pouring into others and helping them on a similar journey, right? Through whatever it is they're struggling with. That's how you know you're in a healthy place. So you are built for leadership, man. The reason I said all of that is I just wanted to say it's an honor to work with you. And I think you've got a bright future. I can't wait to hang on to your coattails wherever you're heading, man. It's going to be phenomenal. And if you chose us in this community to be a part of. And the other thing I want to say to the listeners too, I'm going to turn it back to you in a minute, man, but this is the value of having a mentor is, you said people can't get the results you've had unless they were willing to go through the things, well, that you went through, right? Well, you can also get the benefit if you're wise. This is one of the definitions of wisdom from the Bible is listen to people who have been down that road so you don't have to go down it yourself. If you have the ability to learn from a mentor who can say, wait, time out. Let me speak to you as if I'm the 10-year older version of you. I do this with my boys all the time. You're 20 right now. I'm going to be 30-year-old you. Will you listen to me for a minute? If you believe me, you don't have to. But here's what he's going to say to you. You're being an idiot. Right? Like that's valuable if you can receive it. That's the value of having a coach, having a mentor, working with others. And I think some people are going to really benefit from being under your leadership and mentorship.
It's funny. My dad used to tell me like a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others.
Nailed
So
it.
like I've always been smart, but obviously I was very foolish.
You can be
I had
very
to make my
intelligent
own.
and very foolish at the same
Yeah.
time. Two very different things.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Love your story, man. Well, what else you got for us? I think this is a good episode. This is no matter where we end it, there's gonna be people going, "Oh man, I wish I could have listened to that guy for a couple more hours." Ryan, you're inspiring me today, dude.
Well, I'll just be a little selfish and I'll take some time to ask you a couple questions.
All right, hey, let's go,
Like
man. Flip it.
you're one of those people that I look up to. Like I really admire a lot of stuff that you're doing. The work you're doing is meaningful. And
Thank you.
when I see you, I mean, I don't know you very well personally. We've met a couple of times, but just from the interactions we've had, you're always very calm, cool, collected, very confident in your beliefs. And I would say you're a very encouraging person. Like you're very good at encouraging people and being positive with people. I would like to know, like, how much of that is just the way Jim is born, and how much of that have you developed over time? Like, has
Ooh, I
this
think
Jim
there's
always been Jim, or is this?
man. I really don't like talking about me unless I'm prompted to, and I'm going to keep it short because I like to, silent Jim. If it means 50 different things to me. One of them is what I say is of very little value if it doesn't align completely with who I am and how I act and how I behave. I let my actions speak louder than my words, right? So when I start talking about myself, I'm like, oh, if you don't know the answer already, I haven't done my job, right? Sometimes, but I appreciate and respect the question. I'm going to answer as briefly as I can. I think there's an option C because you just asked me how much of this is how you were kind of born, temperament. How much of this is something you've practiced? I think it's something God put inside of me. If you knew me as a kid, you'd think this guy is going to have some quiet job in a corner somewhere, never talk to anybody. I was raised until I was 10 years old in a very tragic alcoholic home, right? And that takes a lot out of, read a book about adult children of alcoholics. You probably know one. We got a special set of skills that makes us pretty, we've got an excuse to be as horrible as a person as we want to be. And we can always lean back on that. Hey, it was my parents' fault, right? But God got a hold of our life. And I saw and felt a very real impact of, it's one of the most incredible conversion stories you'll ever hear. It's that simple. God got a hold of our life, turned my parents around. For those who don't know, go back and listen to podcast episode 0. I dive into it a little bit on this show. You can find it on our podcast page. But at that moment, and I remember it as a moment in time when I was about 10, I remember having the distinct feeling like, okay, life isn't about just survival. I want to have a big impact. I want others to experience what I just experienced. That was pretty incredible. I mean, my parents were alcoholics on the edge of divorce and partying. And, I was the one feeding myself on weekends and feeding my younger brother. To I have parents who love me and are following God and talking to others about recovering from alcoholism. And like, this is amazing. I loved my life and I wanted that for others. And that sparked something inside of me. So I don't think it was anything temperament wise. I don't think it was anything that I necessarily learned. I think God put something inside of me and said, you're going to tell this story. And that's what I've been doing. Business is just a vehicle for me to share the story of how good God is. Right.
Mhm.
So you say you get that calm and that peace. The Bible talks about a peace that passes understanding. It doesn't make sense sometimes, but you have a peace anyway. I've never struggled with that. There's been moments, I don't record them, where I'm like, God, what is going on? This is nuts. Nate, who's worked with me for 22 years, says, I've seen Jim get mad like twice. My wife will tell you the same thing. Like, I don't blow up. I don't explode. Here's the best way, and I'll stop talking here. I think this answers your question. I see my life. I have no struggle at all. Every day I wake up and I see my life as if I'm a guy who was on death row, execution date tomorrow, right? And I deserve it. I did something bad. I deserve it. And along comes someone else and says, hey, wait, time out. Your crime's forgiven. I'm going to take your penalty. Go live life. How do you feel walking out of that jail cell? Like, what are you feeling inside? Are you hard to offend, or are you easy to offend? Do you have a sense of peace and calm and excitement about life, or are you down in the dumps about life? Like, that's who I am. I think once you understand what it is Christ did for us as Christians, like, that's our daily reality. I've just never struggled to grasp it. It was very real to me, and it has been for 45 years. It's very real to me. I feel like I've kind of been the same guy since. So that may be a long answer to your question.
That was really good.
That's me speaking from the heart, though, man.
That's awesome. I don't even want to add anything. So
All right, dude.
that was great.
Yeah. Well, this is an e-commerce podcast, but people who've listened to more than a handful of episodes know I am going to speak from the heart. Because again, I see this as a ministry. I'm not just concerned about people making more money. I want them to truly live a better life. Their spouse, their kids, their family, their friends, walk with God, right? So that's what it's about. Appreciate the question. Anything else on your mind before we wrap it up? This has been a great episode.
I will be coming to the conference this year again. It's in Florida. I live in Florida, so I am introverted, especially out in public. So if anybody recognizes me, please come up and make me uncomfortable and talk to me. So.
Yes. Yeah. I'm 100% introvert as well, but it's one of those things where you kind of got to get over it. I'm kind of known around here. You mentioned Carl earlier. I don't, you weren't there the year. You didn't go to our event in Tampa, did you?
No, not Tampa. No.
Yeah. You weren't with us yet. Okay. So we had an event in Tampa.
Yeah.
This has been Carl's first time speaking in front of a group of any kind. And he had a breakout session. He's sitting in the front row. And I just happened to notice he was sitting in the front row during the big event, kicking the thing off. Got a spotlight, 800 people in the room. And I just thought, hey, there's Carl. He was telling me how nervous he was about getting in front of a group of 40 or 50 people and doing a presentation. And I said, Carl, get up here and talk to us for a few minutes. He had no idea. I was like, made him hop up, bright light in his face. And he did great. Just spoke from the heart. Because once you realize, like, these are just friends and I'm just here to serve and hopefully make their life better and share what I know. Like, that's all it is. No one's putting on a show here. We're not doing a magic show or a talent show here. There's no performance score. There's no people holding up a card with a 10 or an 8 on it in the back of the room. It's just friends helping each other out. It's a special environment. Yeah. The Proven Conference. God, you're going to be there, man. I'll put a link in the show notes for those who don't know. Yeah, we're expecting about this, same size group, maybe a little more, 800 or so last year. And it's going to be a great time, but looking forward to seeing you. I think that's a good place to end, Ryan. We got to connect more often, man. I really like hanging out with you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Well, for the listeners who hung out with Ryan and I today, I got good news for you. This episode is ending. That's the bad news. Good news is if you scroll back in time, if you're new around here, we got hundreds of episodes where we've hung out with and interviewed, talked to the successful students, your fellow listeners to this show who have built beautiful businesses, and then share with us how they did what they did. Get into our Facebook group. If you're not in there yet, it's free. We just passed 78,000 people, like we said. If you're ready to get started, get over to the Proven Amazon course is the site. There's really only one link you need. silentjimdotcom has links to everything. Just get over there, see how you can get jumped into our community. And last time, Ryan, thanks again, buddy. Good hanging out with you, man.
Thank you, Jim.
And to all the business building warriors, God bless you. We'll have another great episode for you real soon. Talk to you then. Hey, thanks for listening today. One last shout out to today's incredible sponsor, Seller Board. You can go check them out at silentjim.com/numbers. And if you don't know what they do, here's a quick reminder. They help you know which of your listings on Amazon are profitable. Which products should you cut out of your inventory? Which ones should you maybe go a little deeper? It's not an instinct-based decision when you're thinking about your inventory. Use a tool that can help you make really good decisions. They have a whole bunch of other cool features as well. Get over to silentjim.com/numbers and find out more. Thank you, Seller Board. I'll have another great episode for you very soon.